or they need to call someone, or they need help with homework. They need, or they're hungry and they need something to eat.
My first question, so was there a functioning library at Belleville High School last year?
No, we did not have the doors just unlocked during lunch or anything like that, unless someone was going to be in there. But there was no set schedule and no set person to be in there. So there was no one for students to develop a relationship with, that all important adult friendship with someone who is not grading you or yelling at you for being in the hall or calling you out of class because your mom or dad or your guardian has shown up to pick you up.
The sense of amazement and shock people have when I tell them that we are not going to have a functioning library at Belleville High School for the 2023-2024 school year. So, Ms. O'Brien, what can people do that feel so strongly about this? What's the course of action? What should they do?
Well, I've been emailing and texting and trying to talk to people all school year through the pipeline of the school, not in a public fashion, and I didn't get very far. So I would say the best thing that parents could do, or anyone who is even remotely interested in the kids having access to this place with fully staffed, is to go to the school board meetings, because that place is so important to the kids. They are so sad when those doors are closed. One time I forgot to open the doors because I was like in a hurry and I didn't get my key out fast enough, and there were kids outside like last minute Christmas shoppers outside of a mall, pounding on the door. Can I come in? Can I come in? And they all just come in and sit and get books. I asked them at the start of the year, I said, I need to buy more books. We haven't had new books in here since before COVID. Send me a list. I did a Google Forms, and kids told me what they wanted. We spent all of the money. We spent $3,500 buying all new books. And then because we weren't done with the list, I spent $500 of my own money to finish the list. And all of those books were picked by the students for things that spoke to them, characters that they saw that meant something to them. They could see themselves in a book, and that representation is gold.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Alex Thomas Show. A lot of people ask me, am I still doing an Alex Thomas Show? And I like to compare to like Barbara Walters specials. She was off the air, and then if she had big issues or big guests, she'd come back. So in that spirit, I have a big issue and a big guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to tell why we're here. Who are you?
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Amy O'Brien. I am a former substitute teacher in Van Buren Public Schools. Last year, I spent all year, 2 days a week, in the media center over at the high school. And I was putting things back together, getting everything ready for a new librarian to come in and take over and get back to business. We lost our librarian during COVID time. She's healthy. She just jumped from public schools to public library life. So we were kind of floating during COVID, like we all did, trying to MacGyver our way through. So now COVID is done to the point where we can now just all go to school, and it's time to put the library back together. So that was my goal there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. How do you feel when people say you're the librarian at Belleville High School?
I just smile. I have learned that it's just easier to say, hello, and accept that, because there are so many different things that go on in the library, so many different titles, but kids and people who are not in the library sphere just know us all as librarians. So I just kind of smile and say thank you, but I'm hoping to find a permanent librarian for you soon.
And you know what you've shared so far, I knew that libraries have changed and the role of a librarian has changed, but just in our brief interactions and what I've learned from you, my goodness, how much of a change has it's been. So I'll let you define yourself. Like you said, everyone outside they think librarian, but it's so much more. Um, my first question, so was there a functioning library at Belleville High School last year?
No. So I learned that the way that it was handled was that if kid wanted a book, they would tell their teacher, and then someone would unlock the library for them. They would be able to take the book out, and then when they were done with it, they would give it back to the teacher, who would then put it back in the library. We did not have the doors just unlocked during lunch or anything like that, unless someone was going to be in there. But there was no set schedule and no set person to be in there. So there was no one for students to develop a relationship with, that all important adult friendship with someone who is not grading you or yelling at you for being in the hall or calling you out of class because your mom or dad or your guardian has shown up to pick you up. Just someone who's an adult who can talk to you and is non-judgmental and will just help you out.
And I'd imagine a lot of that help too. What you listed right there is just incredible and powerful, but also guiding that curiosity and helping you out in there. That's so, I mean, can you share some of that experience? And
Absolutely. We can, so as a person in a library, we can listen to what you like and then be able to guide you to maybe your next favorite book or your next favorite author. There are several different things in the library. Let me back up a little bit. So in the school, what we had was our collection of nonfiction, fiction. We have graphic novels and comics. We also had all of the yearbooks, which kids were fascinated by, because then they could look up their parents or their aunts and uncles or grandparents and see, oh my God, look how you look when you were my age. So the one thing that is important for someone in the library to know how to do is how to help a reluctant reader, how to find out exactly what they like. I had a student tell me, I don't read. I said, well, what kind of movies do you like? Well, I like action movies and drama, like with the cops and a murder and, like CSI and all of that. And so someone who would know the collection would say, well, let me introduce you to James Patterson, because he writes exactly what you're talking about. And he writes what's called like a high-low method of writing. So high interest and low reading. So written like a grown-up scenario, but not using humongous vocabulary, just like maybe fourth grade or whatever. It's just to get you in.
he's very prolific, isn't he? Like,
sorry?
he's very prolific, isn't he?
Yes, he has. He's everywhere. He's got shelves and shelves of books. He's a fantastic writer, and he knows exactly how to hook someone into a grown-up story without giving them all of the vocabulary that would stymie them. They can just go right into it. And if a kid can't get hooked by that and they're struggling, because reading scores dropped during the pandemic. In Michigan, they're not great to begin with. They're pretty low. So I try to explain to teachers, and most of them could see where I was coming from. graphic novels are an excellent step. So if you've got, like, if you were going to read like Pride and Prejudice, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta read this, is so pedantic, it's so just minute detail, and now she feels like this, and now she feels like that. The kid is going to be bored with it if they're not a really good reader. So you get a graphic novel of that. The pictures do all of your descriptive work for you. And then the little thought bubbles over will give you the thoughts. The speech bubbles will give you the speech. And then they're able to make it through the storyline without getting bogged down by detail and the sheer volume of the book. So many books are like that. And there are plenty of graphic novel options for books that are required reading.
Wow. Yeah, I think I have to start looking at graphic novels. And just to review and refer to others, and too, just to put in my repertoire as far as trying to encourage others and encourage others to read and appreciate it more. Right now, I mean, everything that we talked about so far in this interview, it just lends to like the amazement and the sense of amazement and shock people have when I tell them that we are not going to have a functioning library at Belleville High School for the 2023-2024 school year. And that's correct. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I have just recently gotten an email from Superintendent Kudlak where I asked him directly, will we have a certified teacher / librarian, which means that it would be a certified teacher with a librarian endorsement in our media center? And he said, no, there won't be. Now, I can say that the teacher that came down with me, or came down to the media center and worked with me all last year, she came down during 5th hour. So she didn't know that that's what she would be doing with her 5th hour until like right before school started. And they said, okay, 5th hour, we want you in the library. So I've been talking with her, and she said that she has like an open 4th hour for this upcoming school year. Mm-hmm. And suspects that they're going to put her in the library. They haven't said anything, but if that's the case, then at least the library will be open during lunch. Because if you look back to my report, the data in there shows clearly that A, B, and C lunch, which happens all during 4th hour, that place was occupied. It was being used. We had clusters of students come in, and you can't eat in the library, so they would hurry up and eat, come in, sit down, because they didn't want to hear, 250 kids chew, or all of the exciting shouting going on. They needed to decompress a little bit because their school day started at 6:50 or like 7. Showing up was 6:50 in the morning, but still, that's so early. And they just, are on a tear all through the school day. So they're looking for a place to decompress. I asked kids, what's your favorite part about this area? And they made me smile. They said, it looks like Starbucks, because we've got a lot of dark wood in there, and there's shelves everywhere. Instead of coffee cups, though, we've got books. Some of the kids, when I would have them come in, their whole classes come in, and I would give them a tour, I would make them all get up and follow me around like Pied Piper, because teens won't own a space until they walk through it. So I made them walk with me, and I shouted out the different areas that we were in. This is graphic novels. This is nonfiction. And then I made them stop, and I showed them at the very beginning of fiction how it was laid out. Fiction is alphabetical by last name of the author, unless that author has a number for their name. And no one could guess what I was talking about until I held up our book by 50 Cent. And they were, 50 Cent wrote a book? Oh my goodness, they were so excited. So after I pointed that out, that book was never on the shelf. The people or the kids would check it out and check it in, but instead of me putting it back on the shelf, the kid behind them would say, yo, don't put that on the shelf yet. I want to check that out. So it was just like, here's my book, and then I'm going to hand it back to him. And then it just went back and back and back.
And they were reading.
And they were reading. They were excited because someone that they see on their videos and someone that they listen to was present. They saw themselves on our shelves, and that meant something.
So, Ms. O'Brien, what can people do that feel so strongly about this? What's the course of action? What should they do?
Well, I've been emailing and texting and trying to talk to people all school year through the pipeline of the school, not in a public fashion, and I didn't get very far. So I would say the best thing that parents could do, or anyone who is even remotely interested in the kids having access to this place with fully staffed, is to go to the school board meetings. Go to the school board meetings, stand up and ask when. Ask when will someone be in there? When will it be open full time? Because that place is so important to the kids. They are so sad when those doors are closed. One time I forgot to open the doors because I was like in a hurry and I didn't get my key out fast enough. And there were kids outside, like last minute Christmas shoppers outside of a mall, pounding on the door. Can I come in? Can I come in? And they all just come in and sit and get books. I asked them at the start of the year, I said, I need to buy more books. We haven't had new books in here since before COVID. Send me a list. I did a Google Forms, and kids told me what they wanted. We spent all of the money. We spent $3,500 buying all new books. And then because we weren't done with the list, I spent $500 of my own money to finish the list. And all of those books were picked by the students for things that spoke to them. Characters that they saw that meant something to them. They could see themselves in a book. And that representation is gold. It absolutely has to be given to those kids. If you keep that place locked up, you've banned every book.
It's insane. And I loved my experience in Van Buren Public Schools. I love Belleville High School, and I want all the youth to have all the opportunities that I did. We have 2 state football championships, a lot of discussion around athletes and athletics that need to be held. But this is our library, and I loved in the report how you pointed out there's limited impact in athletics and other folks. The library, it's the universe of students,
Absolutely.
and it's not funded. It's ridiculous.
So I talked to Reggie Miller just the other day, and she said that there's money. There's absolutely money for hiring a certified teacher librarian. There's also money if a teacher wants to step up and become that librarian for the district to pay for their 15 credit hours over at Wayne State to get that certification so that they could be the certified librarian in that space. So it's all doable. I do not understand why this is such a trial. It's a bunny. It should be, we're just going to do it, because the way I've been explaining it to people is you can't take a brick out of your foundation to build a 4th floor. You absolutely have to keep your foundation solid. And since not having a fully functioning library at Belleville High School would mean that we would be the only high school in 50 miles without a functioning library, I think that's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
We need to do right by our students.
It's revolt 2 state football championships and no library. That's insane. It sounds like, at least what I'm going to do is I'll share this video and also your report, and I'm going to recommend. You're welcome.
Yes, absolutely.
People contact the Van Buren Public School Board. Yeah,
that would be a great idea. And go to the meetings.
Yes, and they can go to that site and find out when the next meeting, but also they can
Mhm.
email individual board members or contact or follow their own networks and devices. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience or the Van Buren School District family and stakeholders?
Just that every student is important, whether you are getting a 4.5 or you are working so hard to hit that 1.0 or 1.1. You are absolutely valued. You're going to be grown and you're going to be part of the community, and we need to support you on the way.
Absolutely. And we need to support you, Ms. O'Brien. Thank you so much for your
Thank
work
you.
and for this interview also. Everyone, please contact your school board representative. We have to have a library.